Hold it. Just hold it.
Let's hold it.
Yeah, just hold it up there.
Okay.
Now you can say hi.
Hello.
Hi.
Yeah, hey, Megan. How
Hey,
are you, baby
Megan.
girl?
Hello.
You doing good?
Yes, sir.
Good. I'm glad to see you.
Mm-hmm.
You see Ashley right there?
See Ashley?
Hi, Ashley.
Hi. Are
That's
you
my
excited
niece.
about school starting?
Does she look like her grandma? She kind of
No.
does, doesn't she?
No.
Yes, she
Yeah,
No.
We both
I
have
think so. I think,
Mhm.
Stop
yeah.
making fun of me.
Yeah, mini me.
Stop it.
Mini me.
Everybody's mini
Mm.
me.
No, I'm not.
Okay, all right. You go take a shower. Oh, well, what are you going to do with your fingernails? Wait till morning.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Good. I'm glad to see you. Dr. Dewana's on a call. She had somebody that called her with a serious situation that she's hopped on to try to help somebody that needs help. So it's important.
Okay.
And
Okay, so yeah, oh, is she done?
I think she might be wrapping up.
Okay.
There she
Hey.
is.
You good?
Hey, can you get? Yeah. I gave him the information. Let him know I'm gonna call him back in a few moments. Christina McNamara is amazing. She helped me with this situation. So
She's
yeah,
good people,
Awesome.
man.
It's our kids.
So I wanted to have you on here tonight, Dr. Dewana. I want to let you start out tonight. So I want you to tell people who you are and what you're running for. As people are starting to come in, they'll get to see this today and tomorrow, and it'll be pre-recorded, so it'll be going out for everybody.
Okay, all right. Good evening, everyone. For those of you who do not know me, I am Dr. Dewana Hall. I am running for School Board District 7 here in Clarksville, Tennessee. I'm retired Army captain. I'm an educator, a parent of 3, a grandmother of 2, and I'm a community advocate. My husband is also a veteran. He did 23 years and 7 tours. My daughter graduated from Adodia School, which is the Department of Defense School in Germany. And she moved with us, and then she graduated from Austin P. Both of my sons graduated from Rossview. One went on to go to WKU, and the other one is currently at UT Knox. I've worked on several boards in the community, volunteer, been a substitute, been on PTO. I was a board member for Wonder Weavers, which was an organization that raised money for young ladies in Africa to get their certifications. Can you all hear me? Because I know sometimes I talk a little low. Okay, to get their certifications in basket weaving so they can be more independent. I previously worked on the board for Boys and Girls Club, the NAACP. I'm currently on the board for the Women's Veterans Association. I am, let me see what else. Trustee for the Democratic Party. I've done that, and I'm currently the second chair or fundraising chair for the Democratic Party. I also work as a trustee for Ronnie Glenn. I've been a den leader for Cub Scouts when my husband was deployed. I also started AAU basketball league when I first moved here because we couldn't find sports for my sons to be active in. I earned my master's degree in organization leadership. Oh gosh, I'm sorry about that. Let me put that on mute. I earned my master's degree in organizational leadership at Thomas Edison in New Jersey, and my thesis was on developing a 24-hour child care development center. And I came up with that because there were soldiers or medical professionals in the area or factory workers who worked like 24-hour night shift, and they could not find childcare. So I worked with Cooper Hospital, the medical center in Camden, New Jersey, to offer an incentive once we opened that center up to offer them an incentive of 50% off their childcare services if they use that childcare for the nurses or administrative, anybody that worked at the hospital. I also founded a mentor program, education, leadership, and professional development. My dissertation focused on the parent-child relationship and the impact of their relationship and resilience for CMCS students who had parents that had deployed. During my doctoral dissertation, I created surveys where over 4,800 students and parents, they actually, they responded to their surveys for me, which was part of the dissertation. I analyzed quantitative and qualitative data for both DODEA schools and the CMCSS schools. They use that data to make decisions. I gave some recommendations for improvements for leadership based on that data that was collected. When I retired from I feel like I'm boring you all, but when I retired from the military, I became a warfighter instructor at the Mission Training Center here at Fort Campbell. And the Mission Training Center essentially it's a schoolhouse for soldiers when they get ready to deploy or go off into combat. And so what we do is we give them a simulation of where they're going to be and what type of systems they're going to use. And I found with a lot of them soldiers that these are young men and women that were going into combat for us. And I found that a lot of them didn't even know. I think you talked about this last night, how to sign their name, or they didn't even know how, to get it. They didn't know about finance and savings. They didn't know how to transition some of their military credits or their military training into college credits, or they didn't even know that they could take college courses while they were in the military. So I helped them prepare for a lot of that. So that's basically my military and training program. I've been consistent since day one, what I wanted for our students. And that is to protect our students, pay our teachers, and to fund our public schools. And that absolutely includes free lunch. And I've heard that spoken a lot on here as well. So, I don't think it's right that a lot of these teachers, because the first thing that I do when my children went to school was I would reach out to the student, and they said that there's only 2 counselors in the school, but they feel that they need 2 counselors per grade. So I think that's something else that needs to be added to the budget. I know that when it comes to budgeting, that we create the budget and then we go to the county commission and say, hey, this is what we're asking for. But a lot of times, there's some things that I worked on before when I had a candidate who ran for mayor. And one of the things is the impact fee for these developers and builders here in Clarksville. And people are not going to like this because a lot of people are afraid to approach these builders and developers. But their impact fee is $500 per home that they build. No more than $1,000. And the impact fees is what the funding that we use for our schools. And anywhere else, it's $1 per square foot minimum. So Montgomery County pays the lowest when it comes to that. And a lot of the builders that do it because we're just going to put it back on the homeowner. Okay. If I had to pay an extra $2,000 for my home, over 30 years, that $2,000 to make sure that my children had adequate funding for schools and adequate schools and getting the things that they need, I would pay it. I think most of us would.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. I had a question that popped up here, Dr. Dewana. It comes from David Calgar. Can you see me?
I can see you. I don't see the questions. Or you just going to let me know?
Yeah, I'm just going to read them to you. Is that okay?
Okay. Yeah.
All right. So David Calgar says, questions. You seem like you're very active in our community, and that is important. However, with as much as you are still actively a part of, do you think that could negatively impact the focus needed to make change to this position that you're running for?
No, because the children are my focus. If you've heard me from the beginning, these are some of the boards that I was active in. Everyone already know. I have already told everyone if I accept this position, that is going to be my main. I'm leaving everything else behind, and I'm focusing on the students. I don't have a hidden agenda when it comes to this school board. My kids have already graduated, but I know the type of backlash that comes with it, which is why I waited until they were out of the school district. I don't have as much grace as some of, the other candidates may have when it comes to, running in politics and having, Black sons, because one of my sons always got just targeted going back and forth to school, so I didn't want him
Yes,
to
ma'am.
be targeted while I was campaigning, you know.
Sure.
So
Mhm.
I have a question. I'm getting a little bit of feedback. I don't. Okay, so what do you think about the impact fees? I'm not sure. I understand what impact fees are. I wasn't sure what your position was, though. Do you believe that when you have you have a school system set up and there's planning and stuff around a school, and then you have a developer come in and put in 200 homes close by, that sort of, tips the balance on the population in that school. And I know Williamson County, I haven't checked Rutherford County, but Williamson County had a lot of discussions about impact fees. Are you saying that you don't think they should pay an impact fee, or are you
Oh, they
saying,
absolutely should. I think that they're paying Montgomery County pays the least. $500 per home. I think it would slow down some of this building too. This over the structure that they're doing. No, we need the impact fees, because that goes directly to the schools and help out with the funding for those schools.
okay,
When you're only paying $500 per home, I mean, it don't matter how big the home is. They pay $500.
Yeah.
it seems like it should almost be like a percentage of what the property tax would be on that home. So, so like if it was a $2,000 property tax on that home, maybe a 30%, impact fee or something, maybe. I don't know. That's just one way to
Or
try to,
square footage of
or
the
per
home.
square
Yeah.
footage. All right.
That's
And
what
then
Williamson County pays by square footage.
okay. So, and this is not quite directly related to the school board, but since you're working with Ronnie Glenn, I'm going to ask you this. He had a bill in, I think it was this past year, and I follow, you and I have spoken before. Do you remember? It was
Absolutely. I
okay.
remember. Yes,
It was a
absolutely.
couple months ago, but
Mhm,
I follow
mhm.
a lot of the legislation, particularly the laws that have to do with children and families. And he had a bill in that the daycare centers at the DOD would not have to be licensed by the Department of Children's Services. I think he put that bill in because he was so upset with DCS and that he could hardly see straight. And I never caught up as to whether or not that passed. Do you know if that passed?
That I am unsure of. I am his
Okay.
treasurer, and field director, but I will ask him about that. I'll
Yeah,
make sure I get that response back to you. I was unaware of that, so I will definitely ask him about that, or ask him if he wants to come back and have that conversation with you all.
Well, I was just curious. I have sat down and spoken to him before at the General Assembly, but that one came up, and I was chasing so many other bills that I was fighting. I didn't really follow up with him because I mean, I quite honestly, I thought it was a pretty good idea. I don't think the Department of Children's Services needs to be involved. I'm sure you guys have your own ways that you certify those types of centers. So
Yeah,
I was just
I'm
curious.
surprised because Dodia has it. Um, they're under the government side of the house, so that's a state thing. Ronnie Glenn is, he's our state representative, so I'm surprised that he has any regulation over that. So
Autumn, I'm so glad you joined us.
Yeah. Hey, Autumn. Good to see you,
Hi
Autumn.
guys. Nice to see you. Happy to be here. Hi, Dr. Huff.
Yeah. So,
hello, how are you, Autumn? Mhm.
I'm doing
so Dr.
great.
Hall, your next question in here is from Bob Rosa, and he said, "What do you see as the biggest challenges of the current school board?"
Of the current school board. Lack of transparency. Um, yeah, I think coming into the meetings and I see that there's no response. I spoke with both Mr. Lanier, and I spoke with Mr. Mayberry a couple weeks ago. I ran into the both of them, and I asked them. I said, you know, why don't you say anything? I understand that there's guidelines and there's a lot of things that you can't say while things are under investigation. I said, but you're not giving these parents anything. There's no emotion. There's no accountability. There's nothing saying, hey, we're working on it and we understand you. And we there's no apologies. There's nothing. It's just dead silence. It's almost like they're like you don't feel anything. And so I think that the lack of transparency, or that they won't have a conversation with these parents one-on-one, or even just the group themselves. I think there's an issue with that. They need to come. Yeah, they need to give them something. Get them something, because their minds are just going. They're spinning endlessly. Like there's no accessibility to them other than the school board meetings, and even there's still. So
Yeah, you're right. Next question comes from Sarah Beth. Sarah Beth says, the district often deems advocates difficult and discourages board members from meeting with or even speaking with them. Are you willing to sit down and or speak with advocates over concerns, especially when it comes to treatment of special population students?
absolutely, I've already been speaking with a few teachers who works in that realm, and they've talked to me about issues with IEP. They talk to me with issues about I believe there's assistants that come into the classrooms, but they really don't assist. I In the military, we have what we call an open door policy. I know we don't have an office space there per se, but I will transfer that same response over into the school board district. I will make sure that I'm accessible, that they have my number, they can call me. I'll have a conversation with them. I will do town halls. I plan to do town halls. And I even think it's important for school board members to go into the schools. I think we need to go into the schools at least, once a month, and we need to go into the schools together. I don't need to just go into District 7 schools. I need to go into all the schools. I need to see what's working, what's not working, and and how we can all have a meeting of the minds, just like you're doing. Like I told you, this platform that you all have is very important, because we're in the middle where we can all have a conversation.
Yes, ma'am. Yes,
we're,
ma'am.
we're not thinking like somebody said it the other day about the whole bird thing. That was just amazing. And I had to talk with Susie about that, and that analogy said it perfectly. They're not the left wing or the right wing; they're the entire bird. And that was Autumn. That was Autumn that said that. So
so I have
this platform is the same.
Yeah, so I have a couple questions too. We spoke with Jackie the other night, and she talks about some things that are important, and you've mentioned a couple things too. I mean, school lunches is one, and I think the quality, not just the fact that there is a lunch, is critical. And I don't know who contracts or what the criteria of the contract is. I don't know if like they have to provide like a monthly plan that gets approved. I'm going to ask you to give me some feedback on that. And then the other thing is, with the critical situation with inappropriate conduct happening in the schools, primarily from teachers, but I'm sure there's student inappropriate conduct that we are not hearing about as well. I have worked with victims of SA for many years, for 3 decades. And there is a very critical threshold. And you mentioned a little bit about teaching. I think you said you were teaching children about, I don't know if you said boundaries or
Yes.
appropriate conduct or something.
Yes.
So I think that we're at the place now where there's a few things that need to be done affirmatively. And one of them is teachers and their phones, honestly. Apparently, and this often happens, one or two people misbehave and you have to create a law or rule for everybody. But I think at this point, there's going to need to be some restrictions about either you have to have your phone in a drawer or you have to have it, you can't take it or in a locker or, keep it in your car or whatever. I mean, there were days in the old days, teachers did not have cell phones in their rooms. They had a telephone if they had to make a critical phone call. But we've got to have that the victims there has to be, sadly, like in the old days, we used to tell children, don't talk to strangers, right? And so I think we're going to have to have, we're going to have affirmative conversations with boys and girls, but girls, the victimization of girls is higher. We know that. So that they know that if there's inappropriate conduct, that they are entitled to make an immediate response. I mean, honestly, when this situation happened with Mackenzie, I mean, she was struck, she was shocked, right? She didn't know what to do. But where children and women are equipped with calling it out appropriately and immediately. I mean, it might take one or two steps to get there, but we're at the point where, I want a little girl like Mackenzie to be able to say something like, out loud, like, Mr. Vetter, why did you just show me a naked picture of yourself in the classroom?
I think it tastes good.
So, hey, Adam, can you mute just a second? Or I
Yeah.
don't know who it is. Somebody I can hear chatter behind, so that they can respond when something bad happens. They can respond. How do we want them to respond? I mean, give me. With the school board, I think this is going to have to be talked about. This is going to have to be addressed. So you tell me what your thoughts are on those two things.
Man, I meant to call my mom because she had came up with a law in New Jersey for this, and it had something to do with, and I'm terrible now because it was so long ago. I was so young when she did it. So bullying and intimidation so I don't think there's any room for any of that. And when I say intimidation, these young girls or these young boys, whoever, should be able to speak up. But we need for them to be in a trusted space. A lot of times the adults in the room don't believe them. And so when you go to an adult and you say, hey, this didn't happen to me, and they brush it off, it's like, oh, who do I trust? So I do think we do need to have a safe space. I don't know if it should be with the counselors or there should be some type of, code where, hey, I need to see the counselor in reference to whatever. But hiring the counselors, we need to trust that they're going to take our children's safety into accountability as well, because sometimes they take up for each other. That should have never happened to Mackenzie. I apologize. I'm sorry that it did happen to her. It triggered some things for me. I went to court with a young lady once before, and she went with her mother. It was her mother's boyfriend, and it took her 15 years to say something. But she said that she didn't know if her mom was going to believe her because she knew so many other young girls who had been in that situation. But when she got to court and her mother pressed charges against the boyfriend, the judge said he made everyone in the courtroom stand up and applaud the mother. He said because only 9% of moms will believe their children. He said the rest of them will go back to the man.
Wow. 9%.
9%.
Gosh.
will believe the
Mm.
children.
That's scary. That's a staggering number.
And so that starts with the law as well. We have to have a relationship with them. I don't know if when the hmm
Wow. Got another
We
question
also,
here that popped up. Go
So
ahead.
I'm sorry. I want to
I
make
was just
sure I
gonna say,
answer. Wanted to make sure I answer her question. So did I touch on it or?
You so
I don't know
close.
I don't know if the resource officers are going to be that or the counselors, like, because I know our job for the board is to hold the director accountable. But for me, I'm still going to advocate, say, hey, can we push this forward? Can we talk to the representatives about this? Or this is what we need. I'm still going to make sure I advocate for the students. I'm not.
Okay, so what I want to see, I'll just tell you, what I want to see
Okay.
is I want to see basically a PR platform, just like we did Just Say No to Drugs, just like we did No Bullying. I want to see posters in the schools that say report inappropriate conduct immediately, right? Like you have a right to be heard immediately. School is to be safe. You are here to learn about your world. And if you are violated here or in the world, you have a voice. That's what I want to see. I want to see 36 by 42-inch posters in the school.
Mhm.
And I want there to be a contact person in that school that is who they can go to immediately. Mackenzie didn't know who to go to. She ran
Right.
in the bathroom and called her mother, right? And she didn't know who would believe her and not believe her. So, and that's something I think the school board, by resolution, by recommendation, by something needs to put that to the superintendent and say, you have an affirmative obligation to protect children. There's this thing in law called the, what do we call it? State created danger. Okay. And this was while one of the things, this came up in the church sexual abuse cases, it came up in the boys club abuse cases, where this legal term, state created danger, was developed. And basically it said that if you are going to take on the responsibility of children and bring them into your nest and be nurturing them, teaching them outside and away from their parents, you are entrusted with the whole entire highest degree of safety. And our schools, I got on Google and I put school teacher, whatever, inappropriate conduct with students or whatever. And I just typed in various counties in Tennessee, like Cannon County, Knox County, Montgomery County, Hamilton County. I came up with 32 different arrests in 15 months in Tennessee.
Yeah, I remember that.
And I put them together in a folder and I took them with me. So we're at the point now, and I've represented a young child who was assaulted in a juvenile detention center. And I know it's happening to children in foster homes as well. And it's being hidden and covered up. So we're at the point now where children, every messaging we gave them before about how to protect themselves, stranger danger, don't be bullied, just say no to drugs. This needs to be the next one.
So call somebody if you feel in trouble, like the suicide prevention posters as well. Like, this is who you call. This is, if you're feeling this type of way, because some of them don't even realize that they're actually being assaulted.
That's right.
like a sharp
that's right.
training, like a sharp
Yes,
liaison and sharp
absolutely.
training could
Yes.
be something that
And
could be translated over,
So, sharp training in the military is, well, I don't know if it's on the civilian side too, with sexual harassment
Yeah.
training. Yes.
Well,
And they
if,
have a liaison person in all of the places. So if there's like one at school that's trained up, like this is who you go to. And then they come in like a core team meeting and report back up. That would be something that could actually work in the school system, you know?
And that's why I was thinking
Sure.
with the resource
Mhm.
officers,
Mhm.
and if we have children in the school who are being groomed and don't realize they're being groomed, that's a problem too,
Mhm.
right?
yeah.
Yeah.
And then the other thing is the school lunches. You didn't talk about that. And I don't know who approves those contracts, who goes over them, who is the quality control over that. But I know that was a conversation we had with Jackie was like, they get 3 little chicken nuggets and, 5 cold French fries.
And
So,
that's so true. My niece goes to Clarksville High. She's here. And she sent me a picture one day. She says, Auntie, this is what I got for lunch. And she's a healthy young lady. She had 5 chicken nuggets and maybe a handful of French fries. I said, that's not funny. She said, no, it's not. But this is what I got. I was like, oh. And then on top of that, so you have students, that's what they'll get. But like on Fridays, they'll bring in like Chick-fil-A or pizza. So the kids that do have a little bit of extra money, they're buying all, the fast food, and they get to sit down and eat, these fancy, chicken nuggets versus their
and, sh-
cold.
and shame on them. Shame on
Yeah.
them. That should
Hey,
not
and
be happening. If you're buying chicken nuggets, you better buy enough for the school.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Shame on you.
They
Yep.
have Chick-fil-A Fridays. And I was
Mhm.
like, wow, that's,
So, Dr. Dewan, I've got a couple questions I got to read here from you because all
okay.
my followers and people that normally tune in, I want to make sure that we get all these questions answered, and I don't want you to feel like we kept
Okay.
you on here all night. But I think there's a lot
No,
of
no, no.
important ones.
All right.
One of my best friends, Susie Butler, has a question here. It says, "Question for Dr. Hall: How would she have handled the bus wreck or other similar catastrophes aftermath differently than the current board members?" Question.
Oh, I would have most definitely. So when those types of traumas actually happen in the hospital, the doctors take the families to the side. They take them into a private room and they have a conversation with them. They should have had a private conversation with these families immediately. They should definitely make sure. I know there's investigations going on. Let the family know, hey, we're having these investigations. I don't I don't have control, and what the board doesn't have control over how insurance is paid out or so forth. But they should have sent something out to the families, letting them know that they are going to try to do something with the hospital bills or make sure that the schools are liable for those bills, so the parents don't need more stress with these bills. They've already
That's right.
dealing with losses. They should have, sent out funding for the other, I don't like talking about this part, for the other two. They shouldn't have had to do a GoFundMe. They should have took care of that themselves. The school should have took care of that.
I agree. I agree.
So I would definitely be, because we have close relationships with legislation or representatives. I think Ms. Connie and I had, when we spoke, we were talking about initiating or reconstructing the book, the rules and some of the bylaws that's inside of the school books that go out. When we were talking earlier about some of the things, rewording some of that. Like I said, I personally know that the school board cannot do much, but they could have initiated something. They could have done something
Well,
in reference to
okay,
that.
so
As
let me
far
ask,
as
so let me ask you that. Do you have a county school board and a city school board there? Or is it all one?
it's all county.
Okay,
Mhm.
so because like in Williamson County, they have the Franklin Special School District and stuff. So some of them have more than one. So okay, so you have one school board. So you have this, so the school board and all of the schools are under the county budget, right?
So, okay, from what I understand, which is weird, is that the city does the budget for the school board district, and there's a 20% that goes towards the county's schools. So that's my understanding, because I know that it was just talked about being like a $3 million cut to the budget. And then I just read something the other night that the city kind of wants to kind of like abolish it altogether. They don't want anything to do with it.
So does Montgomery County have a consolidated government or no?
No, we do not. We have city
Okay.
and we have county. They've been fighting to have a merge. The county does not want to merge pretty much with the city. So we have two
So,
separate.
okay, so you're saying the schools are all budgeted on the city's budget, not the county
Yes,
budget?
ma'am. Yes.
Okay, so my question then is, the city should have some type of emergency fund. Okay, so whether they have a disaster, let's say 3 firemen get killed in a horrible fire, or 2 police officers get killed in a car chase, right? Or chasing a motorist, or a blockade, or a shootout, or something. I mean, honestly, the local government should take responsibility for the things that occur within their watch, right? With their, like, let's say, for instance, I mean, you got Home Depot. Okay, so Home Depot has all these stores, but there's a big Home Depot. And if there's a slip and fall in a Home Depot in Rutherford County, Home Depot is going to be the person who's responsible for that. And so to try to silo these emergencies and catastrophes in, and to put the people like the school board people in a position where they have to say, we don't have money in.
You're breaking up.
Oops, are we there?
Yeah.
Okay, I timed out there for just a minute. But for us to put these local entities like the school board, or the police department's budget, and to say that they don't have the money within their siloed budget to accommodate these catastrophes, it just doesn't fit right. It just doesn't sound right. So I don't know how that gets addressed, but I think that's a direction, because you've had what you've had at the school level in this one year, that's horrible, that nobody could have anticipated, but it's terrible. So how do we look towards the future and say, this could be the police department, it could be the fire department, it could be the one of the utilities or something.
So, so again, like the school board doesn't make all those decisions. They can meet and they can have a conversation about it, and they can try to write the laws, or and try to get it passed through our county commissions. But again, when I talked about the impact fees, those are the things that I'm talking about. Those are the things that nobody else wants to talk about, is like the builders and developers, how they're getting all these breaks, or how these big corporations are getting a lot of tax breaks that are coming into Montgomery County. Those tax breaks could go towards our schools. They can go towards the insurance. They can go towards helping these families, and they can go towards, the reserve funds. We need to have those in the reserves.
Yep. Dr. Hall, I wanted to tell you that you are a fantastic human being. I support you 1,000,000%. My wife supports you 1,000,000%. And I think you will be the absolute best fit. I know what you're about. I've met your husband. I've met your family. And you and I have had multiple conversations on a personal level. And I know that your best interest is child safety. You don't want kids to be hungry. I know you'll do 10 times better job than what we currently have, and or 100 times better than we currently have. And I'm looking forward to you being a part of that school board. And it's not if, it's just when you win.
Appreciate it.
And I know a ton of people have had questions here. There was another question in here. Somebody says, for Dr. Hall, it says if Costco says they'll be having $4 million annually to CMCSS schools, how can we make sure this is stewarded well and make sure the people and places it should be going?
And that should go to treasurers. I think the treasurer should be doing that. I think that the county commission, they do the budget when it comes for all that. So I don't know exactly how county commission does that, but I know they do the budget. We push the bills. We push what we want to see happens. We give it to the county commissions, and they are the ones that pass that budget for us. So we let them know exactly what we want to use the budget for. And it's up to the county commission. So we need to hold them accountable. We have 21 county commissioners. They're all up for election right now. So those are the ones, that's who you need to be asking the question to when it comes to that. So they may say it's for the school, but it's the county commissioners who make those decisions.
You have 21 county.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot.
I mean, what does Williamson County have? Like 12, maybe 15, maybe at the most. Yeah.
We got 21 up here, so we got to make sure they're doing their
20,
jobs.
21 or 20, I think it's 22. And we have 3 state representatives and 7 school board members. And so.
Yeah. So one more question I got for you, and we won't tie you up because I know we've had you here for a while. I appreciate you though. This is my question I have. What would be the and I'm not going to put you in a bad spot. I'm going to be easy on you. What would be the very first 2 things that you would like to see done when you get your school board spot? What's the first 2 things you'd like to see? If you just had a magic wand and said, hey, voila, number 1 and number 2, what's your top 2 priorities that you'd like to see done in Montgomery County?
Obviously, everyone's going to say lunch. We've all been fighting for that. We know that it just happened. And so right next in the county's right next to us, why can't it happen here? And
Houston County just passed.
Yes, Houston County. And that's it can happen. We can do it. And mental health. I want to make sure that, we have enough counselors in school to address mental health issues, because it comes from not just bullying, but social media. Social media is just hard on these kids. They think they're supposed to be something that they're actually not. And they're looking to social media to be the, okay, that's this is who I'm supposed to be. This is what I'm supposed to do. And this is how I'm supposed to do. Half the people on social media, that's not who they really are. They're not going to give you the bad. They're only going to give you the good with it. So, I think mental health. So feeding the kids and mental health for sure.
Yeah.
Making sure we have enough
one more
counselors
question.
in school.
I know Karen England would be mad at me if I didn't ask this, and Karen is one of my rock star friends. What about getting the dirty books out of the school?
Dirty books. Yeah. I don't think this should be, I think sexual education and health education should just be with the health teachers. Let them do that. Let them teach what they actually supposed to be teaching, which is boundaries and understanding when, someone talks about boundaries. I will say that even some of the books that she's talking about, there's one book, I'll say this real quick. There's one book that's very sexually, it's called The Bluest Eyes. I've seen that on the list. And The Bluest Eyes, I've read that when I was younger, but one thing it made me realize, there were 2 things it made me realize, because it was about a young Black girl who just wanted blue eyes because she felt like all the white girls who have blue eyes, they got preferential teacher treatment, and Black girls were ugly who didn't have blue eyes, and blah, 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 blah. And she was being sexually molested as a child. And it made me acknowledge some things when I was a child, like, hey, that's not supposed to happen, not putting my business out there or anything like that, but it made me realize some things in that book. And I'm not saying that the book should be there, but and I do not think those books should be there. They are explicit. they don't need to know anything about it. They don't. I
Yeah.
still think they need access on TV when they want to watch Netflix and stuff. I think they should still have parent access. I
Yeah.
think there should
Yeah.
be something on these computers. These kids have laptops that they bring home, and some of these parents have to pay for these laptops, and these kids get into things that the parents don't even know about. Yeah, there should be some type of safety monitors on those.
Yeah. So, and I'm
Yeah.
gonna, I don't know if you have any more questions, Adam, but I do have another one. So since
All
you've
right.
mentioned computers and you've also talked about social media, I'm going to say a couple of things. First of all, I'm a very old lady. Okay. I happily turned 74 years old this year. And I was a teenager in 1966. Okay. So I just want to say this first about teenagers. Okay, so the thing about teenagers, their personalities, is still exactly the same as it was in 1966. We just did it differently. Okay, we had rock and roll. Elvis was a little behind me, but the Beatles, the Dave Clark Five, the Rolling Stones, ooh ah ooh, we're doing all this googly stuff. So teenagers have a growing thing that they have to do about creating image and identity. Okay, they're going to do that. Okay, so but the one thing that is different today is that although all of my friends and everything that I've talked about with the rock stars and everything, the other thing that we had is we had personal contact. Okay. We had slumber parties. We had some drinking parties too. We weren't supposed to have, but we chatted in the hallway. We had lunch together. We had Friday night bop parties, right? And we had, we didn't have computers in front of our face all day at school. We had pencils and paper, and we got to write secret notes to each other and pass them back and forth. And those are some of the most fun things about being in school. So I don't like the fact that kids are doing everything on a notebook, right? They need a pencil and paper. They need to write cursive,
Yeah.
and they need
Yeah.
to learn to do long division on a piece of paper and long multiplication on a piece of paper. They need to learn how to write a list of everything they need to do today at the beginning of the day. We have got to, I wish they had home ec again. I mean,
Me too.
we had home ec. I remember them teaching me that if I was going to run a vacuum cleaner, I had to run it 7 times in the same spot to pick up all the dirt. Now, I remember that in high school, but but knowing that you have to clean off, clean up, so writing checks, handwriting them, and understanding that process. So we have stripped them of so much humanity. And my grandkids are now victims of COVID, and they were elementary school when COVID happened. And I know I felt like for Yelena, she had the hardest adjustment with COVID because she was kind of shy anyway. And so she was pulled out of school, and then being put back in school was hard. And I actually homeschooled her for a couple of years, and she's fine now. She's back in school and stuff, but working, socially engaging and working together, we've got to do that. So how do we do that? So as I was saying last night, the General Assembly has 2 different education committees. One of them is education curriculum. They have a whole committee on education curriculum. We need to put into certain things into the curriculum, and I think we're going to have to legislate it.
I think so. I don't remember where I heard it. I remember it might have been on one of Adam's lives a while ago, or something. Where they started putting the cell phones up, or they took the cell phones away from the kids, and they realized, like, oh my God, the kids are talking to each other because they had no choice. They were having conversations in the classroom. And so again, even with the cell phones, like you said, with the teachers, that's something I didn't even mention, that I don't think a teacher should ever be shown. And I have friends who say, "Girl, girl, I've showed students and my grandbabies and stuff like that, and I never really thought about it." I said, but at this point, I don't think any teacher should be showing any individual student anything. If there's something you want to show us a student, show it to the whole class and put it on PowerPoint.
That's it. Put it on the
Or
screen.
put it,
That's right.
put it on the screen. So there should not be any personal conversations with, when it comes to the cell phone. Students shouldn't be showing the teachers theirs, and the teachers shouldn't be showing the students theirs. I think those need to be put to the side because you really can't focus. People are so it's just normal for them to hurry up and look down at their cell phone real quick to see if I got a text or to see if somebody responded to me on Facebook, or to see, you're so focused on that response that you're not paying attention to the classroom and what's happening. You're not engaged with what's actually going on in the classrooms. And I think we need to find lockers for those cell phones. When I was in school, if I had an emergency, I went to the office and they contacted my parents. I didn't need to have a cell phone unless I'm walking home, and now that things are different and you get off the bus or there's an issue or something like that. But while they're in school, I don't think they need their phones. If you want to give them a break during gym or something, I still don't like that. But I don't agree with the cell phones. You're right.
We would get ours taken away.
It takes away from the socialism, and students don't communicate or talk to each other anymore.
Yep. Dr. DeWan, I really appreciate you taking time to come on here with us tonight.
I appreciate you having me.
So
thank you so much.
Can you tell people how to find you and what your website is and what district you're running for? And don't forget to come vote for you on August 6th.
Sure. Yes. My website is Dr. Hall, the number 4, the letter D, and the number 7. So Dr. Hall 4D7.com. My phone number, and I'm going to give it to you, is I got this number just for this, 931-624-2499. And my Facebook is Dr. Hall for District 7.
Yes. We appreciate you. Hey, we appreciate everything you do. Keep being you.
That's thank you so much. I appreciate you all. Thank you all. Thank you for the platform.
Thank you for coming on tonight, and tell your husband and everybody we said hello on the other side.
I will. Thank you for having me, and Ms. Connie. I look forward to working with you. I know we got some work to do. Have a good night.
We appreciate you. You too. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you.
All right, bye-bye. So you guys, you heard it here first. You had Dr. DeWanna Hall running for school board here in Montgomery County. What just a fantastic human being she is, and a wonderful soul. And she stands up for what she believes in. And I think she'll do a fantastic job. We got to give her the chance to get in there and make a difference. That's what we got to do. So without further ado, we've had Miss Maddie here. We've got Miss Maddie here live with us. She's been on here listening to some of this school board candidacy, but tonight I think it's important that we dip our feet in the weeds and we talk about some of this CMCSS that we've been talking about and some of the corruption that's going on here in Montgomery County. And you guys, my Warriors for Justice group, this is the time where we have to support people. And Miss Maddie, the floor is yours. I want you kind of just to tell people who you are, and here we go.
All right. Well, bear with me. We've had a power surge or two. So if I disappear, it's because my internet suddenly went out. But my name is Maddie. I have 2 teenagers. One is about to be 17 and the other one is 15. And they both go to Northwest. And they're both high functioning autistic with ADHD. And we just found this out about 2 years ago. And so ever since my husband's in the military, so we PCS'd here about 3 years ago. When we did, we actually went to the schools prior and we realized, there's a pretty substantial difference in the cosmetic differences of the schools. However, we did look at the differences in what what the issues were at the school, and we realized, bullying was a bigger issue on a certain, like, the opposite side of town where we're located. And so that was a big issue when it came to where we came from prior for our son, because he's a little smaller, and then he also did cheer. So that was a pretty big hurdle for him to get over. And but we decided ultimately to move where we are now. Well, we didn't think we would be battling the hurdles that we are now and trying to get over those, because now at this point, so my son, he has a few medical issues from when he was younger. He's had a few surgeries, 25, and because of all of this, when he was 3, he had a spinal tap that almost killed him. He's gone from a wheelchair at that point, a walker, leg braces, to eventually doing competitive cheer and doing amazing with it. And so he's somebody that if you see him, you'd never know that he has any sort of disabilities. He had issues with any of this in the past. And well, at the beginning of the summer, he went to an ROTC program. And when he did, we had filled out all the paperwork, sent him there on the bus, and everything was great. Thought he was on his way to this program for a whole week that he had been looking forward to, honestly, at this point for years, because he just couldn't get there the years prior. And so he's on his way, and I start getting phone calls from the staff that's there saying that they're just now, while the kids are on the bus, going through their paperwork, their medical paperwork, and the forms that we've had to fill out for them to be there. And they're no longer comfortable with my son being at this program, and I need to come and pick him up. And I told them, absolutely not. My son, I would never put him in any position that I feel he's not capable of being in. He's there with everybody else. He's already on the bus. We've gotten every form we need to fill out filled out for him. There is no reason he shouldn't be allowed to stay. And they called me back a few minutes later, told me, well, if you can get these forms filled out, by, I believe it was like 2 or 3 o'clock, then he can stay. So anywhere, any doctor's office, they have about a 72-hour turnaround. So I was really anticipating just not being able to do it. Well, sent him off to his doctor's offices, and somehow they ended up sending him back before noon. And so I send them off to them and expect to hear, all right, he can stay. Instead, they call me and they're like, well, the colonel's still not comfortable with him staying here. And so we're going to have to send him home. And I told him, absolutely not. This is discrimination. Like, my son is more than capable of doing all of these things. And if there's anything that you guys feel he's not capable of doing, then you can adjust it. You can have him do something else, but there's no way I'm coming to pick up my son. He's already at your program. For anything else, they should have gone through the paperwork prior. Any other program, they would have done this. There's no excuse for this. And so I ended up getting about 10 to 13 more phone calls by 7 o'clock, and they planned on putting them into their personal vehicles and driving him back to Northwest. And they actually ended up telling me that they were going to bring him to Walmart and I needed to pick him up in Hopkinsville. And then I told them, absolutely not. I'm not coming to get him. He's staying at this program. Like, this is discrimination. So then he texted me and told me they're bringing me back to the school. And I told them, there's no way that you're riding in somebody's personal vehicle all the way there, especially after the disagreements that have just taken place back and forth. And so I ended up driving. Yeah, I ended up driving almost 2 hours to go and pick him up. They didn't let him participate that entire day. It would be different if there was some sort of like behavioral aspect, there was some sort of issue that had happened, but nope, once I got there to pick him up, instead they ended up telling me that he had cheered on the kids all day. He was being super helpful. He was being incredibly polite to everybody, and he had the best attitude about it, which great. I am so glad. That is the boy that I am happy to say that I raised. But I couldn't believe it, because then this was the last year that he had the opportunity to go to this program, and he's earned it. And he has he has gone so far from where he came and to where he is now. And I could not believe it. And so then I actually got a phone call a few days later, and it was somebody else that was with the program, and they had told me they all disagreed with the decision, but they still sent him home. And I was appalled. And so I don't know, it's just shocking, the fact that that was something that happened at the beginning of the summer, after what we had been dealing with my daughter. And so my daughter, when we were back in Georgia, we lived in Richmond Hill, and we actually ended up PCSing here when she was in 6th grade. And when we did, prior to that, she had some of the best grades in her class. And so we moved here, and immediately it started going downhill. And so once we ended up, she got into 8th grade, it was terrible. She was not able to keep up. She was just really struggling. I ended up pulling her out and trying Acellus for a little while, which didn't work out very well. We're just not virtual school people. And so I asked them, I really feel like she might need to repeat the 8th grade. We've PCS multiple times. She's missing a lot of the foundational skills. And when it comes down to it, if you don't have those foundational skills, you got to fill in those gaps. And how
That's
are you
right.
going to ever learn and build upon that? And they were like, no, she'll be fine. She's going to 9th grade. We're not keeping her. And so we ended up putting her into 9th grade. Well, this whole past year has been a nightmare. We started out with her IEP at the beginning of the year, and we had already had her tested to find out that she's autistic. I gave them all of the paperwork that I found out real fast that nobody has even considered looking at, because then it says in her file, mom claims that daughter is autistic. Well, there's no reason for me to just claim it when we've had her professionally tested. And
Correct.
so, yeah. So then the only accommodations that they would consider giving her is a few days of extra time on her work. And she's a pretty big introvert, and so she's not the one to go and advocate for herself. At this point, she needs help learning how to do that. And as much as I want to be the one to teach her this, they're teenagers, they don't care what I have to say a lot of the time. And so these are things that the school needs to be helping them learn, and they need to be teaching them, hey, these kids, they've got to learn how to advocate for themselves. They've got to learn how to do, basic life skills. They need to be teaching them how to socialize as well. These kids have spent their entire lives looking at screens now, despite the fact that we've taken away their phones. We try to keep them off of screens as much as possible at home. You can only do so much when their entire life at school is on a screen, and they're not being supervised there. And it's crazy. And so we ended up sending her to school and getting her IEP done. And they just gave her that single accommodation, and she sunk. No matter how many times I tried contacting her teachers, tried making sure that they contacted me, tried getting a new IEP meeting. It was one excuse after the next. And they, then we finally ended up having another one at the end of the year. And that's where things got really bad, because then when we did, one of the administrators sat right there next to us, and I didn't want her there at the meeting. They actually insisted that she come. And for her, they she's not one to accept the fact that we're here talking about her in a circle for any reason. And she was already struggling. And instead of actually having some sympathy for this child that is sinking, one of the administrators looked at her and said, well, if you weren't so lazy, we would never be here. And that broke her in a way that I wish I could say that I saw it coming, but I didn't. Because you know what, you can talk to your kids, but you never know what's going on in their mind. You never know what the conversations are that they're having at school.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
also
Yeah.
the things that they're witnessing on social media.
Yeah.
And
And-
so
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
so Maddie, so I'd like to, first of all, I want to absolutely commend you. You are obviously a mother who cares. Okay.
Yeah.
You know, I have worked with hundreds of families, thousands of people in the past 30 years. And I can tell from your intensity, your detail, your persistence, right? You care about your kids. Okay, I'm going to say that. Second, I'm going to say this. You are absolutely right about teenagers.
Yeah.
As I was a divorce attorney for 3 decades,
Mhm.
when I had hundreds of people come into my office and they would talk to me about all kinds of miscellaneous stories about teenagers. And I would say, you know why there's no good books on how to raise a teenager? They'd all give me this deadpan look. And I would say, because everybody who survived it is not going to talk about it.
Yeah.
And they're all
That's
different.
right.
But there are a lot of similarities, and some of the things that you're describing, I have had those circumstances. Okay, and personally, I adopted children from Russia who
Wow.
were very behind, and
Mhm.
I've sat in many IEP meetings. And
Yep.
when in this last one that you had, I don't know what your reaction was to the lady who said that,
Ugh.
but I wish you would have immediately said, "Excuse me."
Oh, I said to him, I was like, well, if we're done bullying the children, I think we're done. Like, I think
Okay,
we're
well,
finished here.
good for you, because you
Yeah.
didn't
Yeah.
say that,
Yeah.
but and you have to, and I absolutely totally agree. You heard me talking earlier when
Mhm.
with Dewana that engagement has to be part of it. So a couple questions. Are the kids now the program you were talking about with your son? Did you say it was like junior ROTC? What was that program?
Yeah. So he's in JROTC, and then it was called JCLC. It's a program that they have during summer.
Okay.
So
Yeah. So my question is, so he ended up staying for the whole program, correct?
no, the first day I had to go and pick him up.
Oh, you did. They still forced
Yeah,
you to
they
pick
wouldn't
him
let
up.
him stay.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
I
Man.
couldn't believe it. I was floored, because if you saw
Okay.
where he came from to where he is now, I mean, I don't know if you know the competitive cheer world, but this kid is doing layouts. And so there's no way that, doing something at the
Yeah.
ROTC thing is beyond him, because he is physically fit. He is
So
fine.
so how did you explain that to your son?
Oh, I I wish I could tell you exactly how, but he was very understanding with it. He has gone through a lot, so much more than I wish any kid ever, like, I would never wish this upon anybody, because we lived in hospitals for years. And so, he's he's kind of used to being the kid that is different. And he has some he has some different things. He actually uses catheters. He has a G tube, stuff like that. So, but the thing is that these people, his teachers knew this. They knew this from before they even went. And he's had the same ROTC teachers for years. So they were well aware of this. But these are all things that unless you physically see them, you would never know. And we've had him checked out by doctors after
Okay.
doctors. He is totally fine to do all of the things. And
Okay.
so,
So
you
I'm
know,
going to say the most important part of that whole experience is your relationship with your son.
oh
I
yeah.
mean, the
And
most important part,
mhm,
and in growing up and as teenagers struggle through those years and
mhm,
go through unfortunate and experiences, because here's the thing, we are
mhm,
pushing them out into the world, right?
yeah.
We are. I mean, I have this book I'm writing, by the way.
Mhm,
It's about decades, and it's what's the first decade of life about? What's the second decade? And that second decade, after having three teenagers and now three teenage grandchildren, it's about identity and image. And by the
mhm,
time they leave our wings, being under our wings, we want two things. We want them to be able to embrace who they are,
yep.
right? And we want
Absolutely.
them to understand that when things don't go their way, right? That
Mhm,
when things don't go their way, who do they come to? They come to their trusted people.
yep.
When one of my girls was 16, she did this runaway stunt. Most scariest thing in my life I ever had to deal
Yeah.
with. But I ended up in juvenile court, and they tried to hammer me. They were really ugly to me because of who I am. But I
Mhm,
got in front of this judge and I said, you know what? I said, all of you people sitting in this courtroom, she's just a file folder to you. Like,
mhm,
when she reaches 18, you're going to take her little file folder and you're going to put it in the shredder. And when she
mhm,
turns 26, 28, 29 and has a baby, gets a divorce, has to
mhm,
have some type of medical treatment, it gets
yep.
brokenhearted, loses a job, gets a job, who's she going to come to? She is not going to come to you. The
Yep.
most important thing she has and your children have when they leave high school is you,
Yep.
right?
Yeah.
Mhm,
And your ability to come through that with him and say, look,
mhm,
this sucks.
yeah.
This
It
sucks
does.
that you wanted to do this. You were ready. You were skilled.
So, Maddie,
Oops.
which school was this?
Northwest.
Who was the principal at the time?
Um, Blakely, is that the last name? I believe it's Dr. Blakely.
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 What year was this?
Oh, this was this summer that this happened. Mhm.
Wow.
Summer.
So
Okay.
Yeah,
2026
this happened
summer.
this happened at the beginning of this summer. And
Okay.
so, and so when this happened and stuff, um I did tell him, this has nothing to do with your capabilities. We both know that you are far more capable than doing this. And his teachers even told him, we know you're capable of doing this. Like, this is not something that we're worried about you at all. We would be more worried about many other students before you, because he is totally fine when it comes to this stuff. And never would I put my son into a situation that I would think that he would even struggle physically with because of his situations that he's had. I don't want to call them disabilities, because they're not
Yeah.
now. Like, they don't slow
Right.
him down whatsoever. But, and when it comes, I'm really blessed to have a very strong-willed child in in every way, because this past weekend, well, the weekend prior to this one, we actually were in Texas checking out flight schools, and he flew a plane, like, he's
That's
going to
awesome.
become a pilot. And so
Yeah.
there's nothing that's going to stop him. And so, despite all of his setbacks that he's had throughout his life, he's not somebody that is going to let somebody tell him no. And so, I as frustrating as that was, I think ultimately, he was upset about it, but I probably, because that's my kid, I, I'm probably more frustrated with the fact that I know how wrong it is. And
Yeah.
he missed out on that experience that he deserved and he
And
earned
that
it.
you wanted for him.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
he has fought tooth and nail for this for the past 13 years. And I don't think he realizes how much he deserved that because and the
Sure.
fact that these adults took that away from him when they probably had I know that they like some of the ones that took that away from him have no idea where he's been and where he is now. So
Sure.
it's just wild. They just looked at him like just like you said, like he's a piece of paper and they just read what these issues are. And what was wild is that they had told me because they had to get a doctor to sign off on it at the military hospital in Knoxville. Well, they told me, well, the doctor went home for the day, so we couldn't get him to sign it. So we're sending him home. What was the difference between him staying there during the day till 7 o'clock while you guys made him sit on the sidelines and watch everybody else? And we fought back and forth on the phone for him staying there and then letting him stay the night until the doctor got there at 6 in the morning the next day. Like, it just doesn't make any sense. But nope, they sent
No.
him
Right.
home. They wouldn't let him stay. And he now missed out on that opportunity. So
Right.
That's
it's
something
just
that
wild.
you can't turn back the clock on.
No, no, not at all. And no, but he's definitely somebody that he's not going to let it hold him back, but it's unfortunate because if they're doing that to my kid, who else are they doing it to? And I always think about, my kid, he's somebody that's not going to let this affect him in a way that somebody else might. And
Right.
I see how he bounces back from it. He brushes it off of his back and just moves on. But what if other kids don't? I have one that's how he is. He doesn't let things bother him. I have another that she's not the same. And I see how things bother her. And it's terrifying because these schools, they they truly don't take these kids' mental health or their well-being into consideration. And
Mhm.
I, after that principal sat there and told my daughter, well, if you weren't being lazy, we wouldn't be in this situation.
That's what I was wondering. What school was that?
Northwest. She
Okay.
tried to take
And
her own life after that. And that is
Mm.
absolutely the most terrifying thing I've ever experienced in my life. And, I never expected that because I, I'm somebody that I make sure I am close with my kids. I make sure that, if my kids, they need somebody to talk to or, they ever feel like they could get in trouble for something, they know like they can still come to me and have a good conversation and a safe conversation because
That's
that's
right.
what's important. We need to have safe conversations with our kids, set our emotions and our anger aside, and then come back to whatever the reasonable consequences are and discuss
yeah.
it later. And my kids know that. And so when I found out that and we ended up finding out that this is what's happened, I could not believe that this is the life that we were living. And we are so lucky to have her. And when it comes down to it, bullying from the administration, that's
Mm.
Well,
insane.
right.
And then it's like she she struggled all year. She ended up going to summer school. Well, she she went to summer school because she is so set back in her schoolwork. Instead, what she does or what they ended up having her do is use Chat GPT. And
Oh
That's what I
my
was wanting you to
gosh.
tell about.
yep. And
Yeah.
the thing is that we took away her cell phone because her mental health had deteriorated so significantly. And what so as she's there using Chat GPT on their computers, which is insane,
Oh my
She
gosh.
she ran out of prompts because she is using the free version of Chat GPT. So then I find out, first of all, that everybody there is telling them, don't tell your parents that you're using Chat GPT, which my kids are going to tell me these things. And so they're over here telling our children, don't tell your parents things, which is insane. Well, then I find out that they're now, the teachers and the administrators are giving my daughter their cell phones to use Chat GPT so then she can hurry up
Oh
because they're
my.
getting mad that she's taking so long with it.
No way.
I
Wow.
I can't even wrap my mind around this. So now she's not only far behind when it comes to eighth grade, ninth grade, now they're sending her on to 10th grade because they just pushed her to use Chat GPT for her summer school courses. And now she doesn't have the foundational skills for any of it. But like they've told me before, don't worry, she's going to graduate. What? How are they pushing these children through school like this? They're not learning anything. It's insane.
Yeah, that's a red flag. Anytime somebody says,
Yep,
like Emily says, anytime somebody says, don't tell your parents, that's a problem.
I know.
That's a
And
problem.
that's exactly what I told my daughter. I was like, well, and I've told them as they've been growing up, if an adult ever tells you not to tell me something, you immediately come and talk to me about it because that
Absolutely.
there is something seriously wrong there. And oh my gosh, I couldn't believe it. So, yep, they just had them use Chat GPT the entire time. As soon as they were done with their classes, they quit going. And so at one point, it was like a 2-to-1 ratio for the teachers and the students, and they're still making them use Chat GPT, teaching them nothing. And so she I don't know what the plan is now when she goes back to school, but I have been fighting the district tooth and nail to help us. And at this point, they have after, so my mother-in-law has been in special education for about 30 years in California. So she knows her stuff. She looked at all of the paperwork that they've sent me. I am hoping that this is just a typo or a mistake, but the paperwork they sent me was their special education program paperwork that they sent me said that it was created back in 2008. And so I am praying that they sent me the wrong stuff because that's insane. That makes no sense at all to me. And so at this point they they have done three hours of testing for her, and I think
Mm,
it's just to appease me because I have fought tooth and nail because I know as soon as I send her back there, what are they going to do to actually help her at this point? She's so far behind, and it, I, there's no plan. They haven't come to me to tell me any plan. They have nothing set in place for students like this. I don't want her just thrown into a special ed class that then she feels she's going to feel worse about herself. And that's not where she belongs. Just because somebody has autism doesn't mean that they are disabled. It doesn't mean that they're not capable of things. And I feel like because they heard that she is autistic, they immediately feel like she's just not capable of doing the rest that everybody
Yeah.
else is, which is completely unacceptable. So
Uh,
I
when it
just,
comes
I don't
to
know what to
special
do.
needs, we
Mhm.
have Megan Wise
Mhm.
and Autumn Harper. If you haven't spoke with them, get in touch with them. They are
Okay.
amazing.
yeah,
That would
and
be
Ashley,
great.
tell them she's probably not had this heard the story, but tell them kind of what happened with Levi at school. Same situation. What the teachers told
Yeah.
us.
So we have a special needs child. Mute your mic, Adam.
All right. All right. Go ahead.
So we have a special needs child, our youngest, and we were going for his IEP meeting here at Cumberland Heights that he is for here. That's the school zone that we're zoned for. And we had a wonderful program when we lived in Sango. It was great. It was specialized for him. He has sensory processing disorder, but it's not really autism, but it's sort of. But he was in not, they called it general population, but he would get pulled out for classes, but he started off in just the special ed classes and then gradually worked up to the general population. But anyways, the classes were great at Sango. They really were. We came out here to Cumberland Heights. When we got to Cumberland Heights, we did the IEP meeting, and they looked at us and they said, well, what do you want us to do with them?
Yeah.
And we looked at them and we were
That's
like,
crazy.
well,
What do you
you're
mean?
the teacher. What? We don't work here. We're not the teacher. Like, we're giving you his IEP plan. This is what you do. And they're like, oh, we're not equipped for this.
That's crazy.
They're like, we don't have the teachers for this. What do you want us to do with them?
They told us something similar when they saw my son's IEP from Bryan County back in Georgia. And they were like, wow, this is one of the most thorough IEPs I've ever seen in my life. I couldn't believe it. They just filled in the blanks.
They were like, well, maybe we can call Sango and maybe get some help with it. So they called Sango, and his special ed teacher like really tried to walk them through this, and they were like, well, we just don't have the staff. We just don't have the teachers for this. So what they done with our son was he would go to class. This was his first year that he had a laptop. And they put him at a separate table, gave him a laptop, but never taught him how to use it. He never knew how to touch, like, he never knew what the buttons meant. This was, I mean, it was insane. I would come home and ask him, things, and he was like, I don't know. I just sat at the table.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
I can't believe that this is what they're doing to some of their students. And I mean, when it comes to kids that have learning disabilities, these children are just as valuable as the other kids that are at the
100%.
school. I don't
No
understand
child
why they're
learns the
looking at
same.
them. No, none of them. And just because there might be a label on one child doesn't mean that other kids don't have the same issues. They just might not have been diagnosed with it. And
Right.
I mean, some of the most brilliant minds in our world have learning disabilities. And we need these people. We need them to be able to learn things. We need these people to be able to be in our communities, and teaching them that they're not as valued or not treating them the same is just doing a disservice to everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah. And when I heard a teacher actually tell me personally, we don't know what to do, that as a parent is not what you ever want to hear.
No, and there's no education when it comes to special education that these teachers that I'm aware of need to continue. I don't know if this district actually makes these teachers or anybody in the district continue their education when it comes to special education, and especially when it comes to autism, stuff like that, unless they're an instructional aid, because that's something. Growing up I grew up in Southern California, and my mom worked at the high school. I have a special needs brother, and that was something that she had to take special education classes continuously. And it baffles me how when I was at my kid's IEP, they didn't know what dyscalculia was. Somebody asked me, "What's dyscalculia?" And I was floored, because these are things as educators that they should know. And I don't know why I'm having to explain this to them, but it's just very frustrating, because if they don't know what this is, then how are they going to help our children study properly, learn how they need to? And I mean, at this point, when it comes to my daughter, I I wish I wasn't at this point, but when it comes to my daughter, I'm not concerned about her grades. I'm concerned about her
Right.
confidence, because if
That's
we
right.
can't get her confidence going up, then she's never going to get the grades up. She's never going
Right.
to feel like she can walk down those halls with her head up and feel like she's going to actually do something that's good, especially when the administration is making her feel bad and they're the ones that are pushing her to use chat gpt to get through her courses because they don't believe that she can do it herself.
No,
It's
that
insane.
affects her for her future. That is her emotionally. That is just her who she is. And she's gonna carry that.
Yeah.
And I
And,
think this is a, go ahead. I'm sorry.
oh, I was just going to say, when it comes to AI, I know our whole world is going that direction. But when it comes down to it for our children, they need to be taught how to use it responsibly. They need to be taught that they can't just solely depend on
Depend
AI.
on it. Yes.
Yeah, they need to learn how to use it in the right context, and the fact that they can still think and use their own brains themselves, because
Right.
Yeah.
they're only using it. That's what. And then unfortunately, my daughter was just pressured into using AI, who is autistic, who
Yeah.
thrives with structure and rules. So
Yeah.
now she's going to go back to a very similar setting at this school and be told, hey, you can't use this anymore. And if you do, you're going to get in trouble, which is
Yeah.
baffling to me that they don't understand this, because
Yeah.
I, that's a huge issue, not just for autistic kids, but for children in general. You have to have stable rules, and you have to make sure that you are consistent with everything that you're doing. Otherwise, you're never going to actually get these kids to listen. They're teenagers. They don't know what
Yeah.
to expect out of you from one day or the next. And then they wonder
Yeah.
why these kids aren't listening.
Yeah.
Well, I think this is the time where the elephant comes in the room, and I'll be the bad guy. This is where a director of schools that makes $260,000 a year with a company vehicle that has no repercussions for anything that happens at any of the schools in the district. We got predators teaching students. We got predators showing students nude photos. We got teachers allowing students to use their phones for chat GPT. Mute your mic, Ashley. And we have teachers telling students not to tell their parents, hey, by the way, I'm not only not going to educate you, but I'm going to tell you to not tell your parents that I'm not educating you. This is a breakdown, a systematic failure that from the very top, it's like a pyramid. And we have a person sitting on top who brings people into her admin circle and brings people into the school system that do not belong to be in the places that they are. So if we genuinely all want change, then we have to band together, because it's not just one teacher. It's not just one principal. It's not just one school board member. It starts with the director, who is in control of the entire system as a whole. And if that is broken, and we all know from the recent news with every situation that's going on how broken that it is, then how do we move forward as a community when we have broken leadership, right? If I'm the general manager of a paint factory and everything I do comes out bad, then how do I fix that, right? I need to be removed and replaced with somebody who's going to do a better job of what I'm doing moving forward. So that's the concern. I hear your concerns. I hear these concerns every day. People message me and Ashley every day with different scenarios. Today, one of my very personal friends had a call where they were going to be placing her kid in a class where her kid was going to have to sit in a class with a teacher who had allegations of being a pedophile, right?
That's
How can we
crazy.
be, how can we be okay with that? and everyone ran to the internet today, and it was a big ordeal today. Well, why are we having these kind of teachers in the first place? Why are the notes not making it to their admin files, right? Because you have an administrator who hires her own little circle of people that have no accountability for what they do. And until we can get some accountability in there, it's going to continue to be this way. And who is the downfall of all of this? Our children.
Yeah.
Our children are. Your daughter, your son,
Mm-hmm.
my son. I have 2 sons that I will never put back in Montgomery County schools strictly because I feel that they will be retaliatory because I've done what I've done about my daughter and all the people in the community that I've allowed to be a voice through. I personally feel like public enemy number 1, but I'm okay with that because I know that I'm doing the right thing. Ashley knows she's doing the right thing. My mom up here, Connie, I don't know if you know that, Maddie, or not. Connie's my mom. She does the right thing. And that's why she's always the elephant in the room. And people say, well, you get them 2 together and you're going to have, just your hands full. Well, it's because we don't put up with people's crap.
Yeah.
And it sounds to me like you're a fantastic mother who cares about your child's well-being and you want them to be educated. And all the more reason why these right here don't belong in a teacher's hand, allowing your daughter to use it to pass a class and to coach. Let me say about this, how I feel about this. Coaching is a grooming technique. So if they're telling your daughter, hey, don't tell your parents you're using my phone for ChatGPT, then what are you not finding out that they're telling somebody else's child?
Exactly.
Hey, don't tell your parents that you accidentally saw a
It's
wiener
called
picture on
mental
my
control.
Yep.
phone. You just don't tell them. I'll let you cheat, but don't tell them that I've done this. I've physically seen with my own eyes today where teachers were direct messaging on Instagram to children, telling them they wanted to meet them at a bar and tell them they would wear a disguise so that they so that the public wouldn't know who they were. I
That's
mean,
insane.
these elephants are in the room everywhere.
Oh my
And
gosh.
we have a group called Warriors for Justice, and there's about 25 of us, and we work hard every day trying to do the right thing by Montgomery County because I tell people this. They're like, well, you guys can only control what you can control. Well, we live in Montgomery County. If we start branching out into other counties, yeah, we want to help people all over the state. But what we can control is I can get in my vehicle and I can drive to one of these schools with a parent and sit down with a principal and say, what do we got going on here? What do we not, where's the breakdown in these things? And Ashley is the same exact way. Like she and I are very outspoken about things. And a lot of times people will get the bad impression of you that you're just, you're trying to stir something up. But think about all the things. You have bus accidents. You have kids committing suicide. You have my daughter that got exposed to by a teacher. You got your child that was sent home from a camp for no reason at all whatsoever. Nothing.
Yeah. And these like the man that sent him home, he's not a doctor. We had multiple doctors say that he was safe to be there. And so there was absolutely no reason that he shouldn't have been allowed to stay. And so that's just mind-blowing.
Yeah, like who are you to say that he can't over the doctor's permission that he can?
No,
Look,
there's
I just had
absolutely
a
no
guy.
reason for that.
I just had a lady on here. Actually, I have not even had them on here yet, but I have a situation where a family has a child that's diabetic and he has a glucose monitor. And the doctor said he could keep his glucose monitor on his desk to watch his levels. His teachers made him put it in his backpack and he goes into a hypoglycemic shock. Now, whose fault is that?
Yeah,
I do have another question, Maddie, about your son. Have you had a conversation with them about how to remedy that situation so that he can go next year? Have you talked to them about that?
I actually did speak with somebody about it because once he got sent home, I called everybody called everybody I possibly could because I was furious. And one of the gentlemen that called me back, he was very polite, but he told me, because this is a program for children in high school and my son is a senior, he's not eligible to go next summer. So, it's unfortunate. Deegan, oh, I don't want to say his name, sorry. My son will be fine. He'll be all right. I'm at this point, I'm furious about it because it's an opportunity he worked so hard for. For him, he can't wait to now get to flight school. So I think at this point, if he was to go, I don't think it matters to him anymore. But
Yeah.
he just wants to start flying planes. But it's wild because that never should have been something that happened. He deserved that opportunity,
Yeah, but
and it's a
right.
leadership course. So
Right. But the one thing I want to make sure that we're talking about is remedies. Okay. So,
yeah,
you know, and throughout developing my practice and working with a lot of training attorneys, training new attorneys and people who worked in the office, I always said, before you have a phone call with anybody, before you approach anybody about a situation, the very first thing you need, the self-talk that you need to have is, how do I help this person help me get what I need?
yeah,
Right. So, we can sit here and we can complain all day long, but ultimately we want things to work. We want
yeah.
things to work. And so and I work with families involved with DCS all the time, and we do have to confront it. And I will, and I'm famous for that. I mean, I will. I don't. And I'll give you a short example. I rescued a young foster girl out of being trafficked, and I got her with a family member, and she's a smart girl. She's 15. She's gorgeous. She's sharp. She's behind in school because she's been
You
tossed
guys
around
have
so
a
much.
good night.
Okay.
I've got to get ready for the work tomorrow.
Okay.
But
I'm
y'all
going
have
to
a
go
good
in a
night.
minute too. Yeah.
Bye.
And she wanted to tell her story, and I work with the press sometimes. And so I talked to the family about, she'd like to tell her story. And I think it's important for other girls in her situation and for people to know what's going on out there. And DCS said no, that she wouldn't be able to do that because even though she's with family, she's still in their custody. And I said, now, wait a minute. You're telling me that a 14-year-old foster child can make their own medical decisions and change their gender without telling their parents if they're in foster care, but a
That's
child who's
insane.
15 cannot tell her story to the world? So
That's
I mean, we're going to
crazy.
keep working through that, and we're going to get her story told. But
Yeah.
we need to say, like, and with situations, I'm always, when I have a problem, I'm always like, okay, I want this problem resolved,
Yeah.
right? So how do we get past that? So I'm glad you had that conversation with him. It's so unfortunate, but again, just thank you for
It
being a
is.
great mom. Thank
Thank
you for
you.
being a great
I
mom.
appreciate
And I
that.
am going to have to scoot out of here too. So you
That's
guys wrap it up, and we'll be
Mhm.
talking soon.
Thank you. It was nice meeting you.
You too, hon.
Thanks.
So, Miss Maddie, we really appreciate you coming on tonight and being transparent about everything. I know you and I share some of the same mutual friends as we talked about on the phone. And,
Yeah.
me and my wife, we know David, and we know
hmm
David Shively well. And I know he's running for a candidate position here. And I think you guys live pretty close to each other, from my understanding.
Yep. Right down the road. So he's a
Yeah.
good friend.
So, is that how you found us? Was through him, or did you just see us online?
Nope, I just saw you guys online and I figured I'd reach out because when it comes to these kids and this school, I feel like I'm at a loss. And so
Yes,
I
ma'am.
want to do whatever I can to try and, help them with their education as much as possible. And it's been a challenge, and I don't know what to do at this point because I feel like when it comes to the fact that they have done a little bit of testing for her, I feel like it's more or less just to appease me and try to get me to stop nagging them, because how are we going to move forward from all of these setbacks that she's had? So they just don't seem to have much of a plan in place for anything.
No, they don't, and
Mhm.
it's something I've got a group of people that we work together. We all have a mutual, a lot of different people of all different genres, right? Like, not even about political things, like, oh,
Yeah.
women, men, all kinds of different people. But at the end of the day, they all care about child well-being, child
Yep.
safety, education, and making sure that
Mhm.
things get done the right way. And I am so
Yep.
sorry that you're having to go through this broken system. And something else I wanted to say too, your husband's active duty, right?
Yeah. Yeah, he's still
So
active duty.
you have an active duty husband that's fighting for our country, that we can lay our head on a pillow
Mhm.
and go to sleep at night. And we have educators that would treat your children and not educate your
Yeah.
children when our tax dollars are paying for their salaries. And I
Yeah, and
appreciate your husband's service.
thank you. I appreciate that. And what's the most frustrating to me is the fact that, despite the issues that we've had previously in other locations, eh, it's just frustrating to know that we've moved them from such a great district and school to, a
Yeah.
place that they are now struggling, and there's nothing that we can do about it because, you're fighting, I'm fighting, and it's like we're all fighting this battle that it it feels like it's an uphill journey at this point. And so,
Yeah.
and it's just there's so many other active duty families that you don't know what you're getting yourself into. And I am actually the SFRG leader for my husband's company, um and I hear about it all the time, is that people are dealing with a lot of school issues. They don't know what to expect when they move, and they're moving to a place that they have no idea anybody. They don't know anybody that's there. They don't know what the schools are going to be like. I'm a real estate agent, and so you know I hear about different things that people are going through, and it's just heartbreaking because you just never know what to expect when you go to a new location, and having to pick up and move continuously. Our children already lack stability. They lack the
Yeah.
ability to have a consistent education. And every time we go somewhere new, they're starting at a different area of their
Yeah.
education. And so
Yeah.
they're already lacking foundational skills. And unless they started at a place and they've been able to continue at a place that is doing great, which is not this place, and that has great education, then they're going to be struggling. And unfortunately, that's how my kids are. And then they get left behind. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
And later on, when you have time, if you'll send me in a private
Mhm.
message what
Yeah.
teachers that those were that were using, letting them use the Chat GPT on their
Hmm.
personal cell phones, I think that's important because we've had so many scenarios lately with cell phones. I mean,
Hmm.
as I'm sure you
Yeah.
know, lots of
Oh, yeah.
issues. So a child should never have an educator's phone
No,
ever.
and that was one of my biggest issues and stuff, is the
Yeah.
fact that, I know exactly what you guys have been going through. And so as soon as my daughter came home and was like, "Yeah, no, they made me use their phone because they said I was taking too long and they were trying to
Yeah.
rush me and telling me to hurry up." So, and I ran out of prompts, so they just made me use theirs. All I could think about is, well, I don't know what kind of text messages these people are having pop up on
Yeah.
their phones. And, I don't know. I I mean, I haven't we all have phones. What if you just push it up a little bit? You don't know what they were looking at
Yeah.
prior, and
Yeah.
I know that I'd like to know that, like, my daughter's not going through somebody's phone, but you don't know what the kid next to them is doing. And it's crazy. And you would really think that with everything that's already happening in the district, this would
Yeah.
never be something that would cross their mind. And
You
instead,
you would yeah.
no,
Yeah, you
they
would
didn't even
think
think about it.
after March, whenever a teacher was basically put on suspension for showing their phone, you would think
Yeah.
that would be a reason to not show your phone, because every teacher in Montgomery County got an email about sharing
Mm-hmm.
their personal spaces with emails. But here's one thing I will say I think is important. Um,
Uh-huh.
we have a director right now that's husband has been charged with crimes against a child, and we there may be information on this cell phone of his that's with the
Mhm.
Secret Service, and there could be instances. The reason they've locked this phone up, you know, how do we know what was on the phone? How do we not know that maybe he was having relations with teachers? Maybe they were texting each other back, the "Hey, I love you" stuff during the daytime. We don't know
Mhm.
what was on the phone, but there's a reason that a man locks his phone, and it's the Secret Service is having an issue getting inside of it. There's a lot of
That's
things to hide. So
crazy.
yeah, so not only could the sheriff's department not get in it, they had to send it to the Secret Service to allow them to get in it. And I just wonder if some of the coaches and some of the ladies that are at the school there weren't messaging back and forth with Mr. Vetter, and Mr. Vetter doesn't want to lose his wife because obviously she's stand by my man type. If I did this, my wife would have divorced me and I would have been in a
Yeah.
single apartment like immediately, like no questions asked. So I think we're a few petition signatures away from a 1,000 so that we
Mhm.
can send this petition to Miss Vetter. So do us a favor, Maddie. I know you probably have a lot of
Mhm.
friends that we don't know in your group.
Mhm.
Miss Susie Butler shared that petition in our chat here. When you get off live, you'll be able to see it. Do me a favor.
Mhm.
We only need like 4 more signatures to get to 1,000.
Oh
Um,
yeah, I'll
it's
share
not a
that.
it's not about us. It's about you too. It's about
Yeah.
all of us. And we can only do better without Vetter. And that's the bottom
Yeah.
line. That's where the buck stops is all of these problems lie on her shoulders. And every
Mhm.
day we're hearing more and more and more people come forward. But at the end of the day, there's no accountability at the top.
Yeah.
And
It's
that's a
baffling.
systematic failure. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is.
No, it's crazy the fact that, with all of this stuff going on too, how are how is this woman still in charge? And
Yeah.
at this point, how are there not eyes from above looking at them too? Because there's got to be people above them that
Yep.
are, questioning why are all of the people in the district so upset at what's happening? I mean, it's wild, and there's never
Yeah.
it's never just one person at the top. There's always somebody above
No.
them, and
Yeah.
so where are these
And
people?
like the lady that we basically auditioned for a school board position when you first came on tonight, Dr. Dewana. Okay,
Mhm.
so and I don't know if you know how this works, but the director of schools is only employed by the school board. So the board is
Oh.
made up of 7 members, and they're the
Mhm.
only person who can fire or hire a director of schools. Now, you've seen all of our families on the news at the school board meetings, I'm sure, and all the
Mhm.
things that have happened here locally recently. And the reason that I believe the school board is going to be flipped is I believe that there are some educators, and I think there are people that want change.
Yeah.
I believe that. And I was just reading here in my chat, it says that we have 998 signatures. So if you and your
Oh, good.
husband haven't signed it, that puts us at 1,000.
Okay, great. Yeah,
Yeah.
I tried signing it the other day. I don't know if my name's actually on it. I'm pretty challenged when it comes to technology, but I'll definitely get on there and make sure.
I appreciate it.
So,
Yeah, just help us get that thing shared out. Because what I'm going to do when that gets to 1,000 is I'm going to send that to the Department of Education in Nashville and say, "Hey, we've got 1,000 signatures from Montgomery County residents here that we need
yeah.
change. The school board's not making a change. The people want to make a change, and we are the people."
Yep, absolutely, because
You know,
that's the only way it's going to ever happen. So,
yeah,
you know,
we're the bigger
hopefully,
voice. There's more of us than them.
yeah. And there's hundreds of school districts across the nation that are doing it right. And, not
Yeah,
everything's perfect there, but there things aren't going this wrong. And so we've got to have some answers. We've got to be able to figure out how to do this better. And the
yeah,
fact that these people that are on the school board, their children aren't going to these schools is wild. And
yeah.
so it doesn't make any sense. So
It
yeah,
it
there's got to
doesn't.
be a big
It doesn't.
change.
Yeah, for sure.
And
Well,
these schools are falling apart. They've got to fix some of this. And It's the only way that it's going to change is having people in there that actually care and they're not just there for money.
Yeah. And I don't know if
Mhm.
you know this. I'm sure David probably told you I can't run. I'm running for school board in 2028.
Oh, okay.
So I'm running for school board. And it'll be against Casey Bryant over in the district where I live across the river. So
Mhm.
people like me and you that have a
Mhm.
backbone that want to come forward, that's who these
Mhm.
families need so that we don't have to worry about not getting our children heard, or if
Yeah.
something pops up and they have an issue, we're going to be real backbone people that are real matter of fact and black and white about making a difference. And that's
Yeah.
what the community needs. You know,
Yeah.
I'm not an educator or a politician, but I have common sense and I
Yeah.
have
And
children
that's
that are
what's
in
important.
school, you know.
Yep.
So I really appreciate you coming on tonight, Maddie. I really
Well,
do.
thank you for having me. I appreciate
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
So,
Thank you so
yeah.
much. And if there's anything you need, just reach out to us. I've got a whole group of advocates that'll be glad to help you in any way. And we want to be there to
Awesome. Thank
support
you.
you.
Well, I
Yeah.
appreciate it. So, you have a great night and thank you
You
everybody
too.
for showing up. So,
Yes, ma'am. We'll talk with you later.
all right. Thanks.
Okay. Yes, ma'am. Bye bye.
All right. Bye-bye.
So, you guys, you heard it here first. That was Maddie, just another local family here in Montgomery County that's been plagued by the system. A broken CMCSS story. Just another victim to the broken system that Gene Lunavetter is directly responsible for. Just another family that's fallen victim to a broken system who is led by a broken leader. I shouldn't even say the word led because you have to lead by example. And none of these things we're hearing is by example. And you can't tell me that all these principals have not relayed these messages to the admin staff. You can't tell me that Miss Vetter doesn't know what's going on in these schools. And furthermore, for all the devil advocates out there, if she did know what was going on in these schools, shame on her. But the fact that someone could say, well, maybe she didn't know, well, then maybe she's not doing her job well enough to know. Okay. So there's a double sided coin there that's heads on both sides. She's failed us. She's failed the bus accident families. She's failed all of the children that are lack of education. She's got teachers in schools right now. You just heard from a lady whose child was given a phone by a teacher to cheat with Chat GPT and tell her parents not to tell her parents not to tell what was going on. And I think that's very important for us to know that these type of things are going on. I think it's a systematic issue that's broken at the top. And for all you guys that are out there listening, this is the only way that we can make change. We can't make change sitting on the sidelines. We can only make change by joining together and being a voice that people don't want to hear sometimes. Not everybody's going to want to hear what we have to say. But the beautiful thing about that is they don't get to pick when they get to listen. So we've got to join together and we've got to stand up 100% and be transparent in everything that we do 100% of the time. And if we do that, we're going to win. We're going to win. You guys, I appreciate y'all coming on tonight. Thank you for Miss Dr. Hall coming on. She's running for school board. Thank you, Maddie, for coming on and telling your story. And this is just one more time where a family told you that the system not only failed her son, but they failing her daughter, and they're currently failing her daughter right here in Montgomery County. Children being given teachers' phones to use Chat GPT to pass tests and do homework. That's not okay. And we can't allow those things to go on. It's gone on too long and we can't stand for it. So you guys, we got some good shows coming up. I've got Monty Fritz, who's running for governor. He'll be on Wednesday night at 7 p.m. right here on Facebook Live, right here on this channel. You guys join us. We're going to talk about him. We don't need Marsha Blackburn, who's out there talking to Tennesseans every single day. We don't need that. We don't need that at all. And we don't need Mr. Rose. We don't need Mr. Rose either. I've reached out to Jerry Green from the Democratic Party and have not been reached out back from Miss Green or her campaign manager about coming on live to tell us about what her thoughts are about things. But Mr. Fritz, Mr. Monty Fritz for governor right here in Tennessee, he will be on live Wednesday night at 7 p.m. right here on this channel. So you guys help me share that out. Let's help blow this thing up where we can help support him. We need a good governor. These things that are become issues at a state level, they have to go to the top, and the top of the food chain in Tennessee is the governor. Monty has came out and visited with me and Tom out at Tom's business out at the performance shop. He's came and had conversations with us and did interviews with us. He's a very down to earth person, and I really think that he'd be a really good choice for a governor candidate. You're not always going to agree on everything, right? Allie Phillips is a great friend of mine. She and I both know that I'm a Republican and she's a Democrat, and we're going to see differently on certain things. But the beautiful thing is there's a thing here called the common ground where we can stand on together, where it doesn't matter if you're a Republican or a Democrat or an independent. We join together in the common ground area to where people can be people for each other. So remember that when you're thinking about, man, I don't like that guy, he's a Republican. Maybe you just don't know him. Or if you're thinking about that Democrat, maybe you just don't know him. It's people wanting to be people. It's people wanting children not to be hungry. It's people wanting kids to be safe in schools. And no more pedophiles in Montgomery County. If I catch a pedophile on my watch, I'm going to make it my sole purpose in life to ruin their existence and tarnish their name beyond capability to get them out of a school that I find out that they're in. And I know all of my friends will do the exact same thing. And if you haven't seen our videos, we'll make you a video if we find that out. So guys, I appreciate y'all being here. Thank you guys for joining us tonight. And we will do better in Montgomery County with no vetter. Hashtag do better, no vetter. Y'all have a good night. I always say this every night. Don't poke the bull unless you want the horns. Right now, Montgomery County, it sounds like there's a whole lot of parents wearing the horns, and you don't want them. Y'all have a good night. We'll catch you later. Goodbye.